the problem that the Klal Yisrael has, the Eretz Yisrael has, is that they're fighting against non-elected officials, right? They just so like what are you bombing the Gazans, right? What do? They're just good people.
Okay, gewaltig.
You know,
We are up to Daf Tzaddik Dalet Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Before we start, I want to get this on the record. We want to wish a hearty mazel tov to Shmuel Lerman for finishing Shas, not his first time, not his second time, not even his third time, like he said. It's his fourth time. His wife told me it's his fourth time. But I want to say one thing about Shmuel. Why I'm so impressed with Shmuel, and that is you see when you're in a shir with somebody, you get to see who they are. I'm going to give you an example. When I don't show up, it's because I puffed in. Shmuel, and people sometimes say, I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it because I had to take the road to Vesikim. I couldn't make it because I was in the middle of dealing with a chosn's money and I had to get the money in the right place. So there's a famous story. There's a famous story with Rabbi Yisrael Shklov. Rabbi Yisrael Shklov was a Talmud of the Vilna Gaon, and he took the Talmidei Agra to Eretz Yisrael. The descendants of them are still the Yerushalmis are still the Perushim. They're still descendants of this group that came out from Rabbi Yisrael Shklov. So Rabbi Yisrael Shklov took them. They sailed from somewhere in the Mediterranean to Eretz Yisrael, and during the trip there was such a bad storm. The ship at Chazayga Darpin, it was gonna turn over. It's gonna capsize. The captain said, "There's no hope here. We are dying. Make preparations. Prepare yourself for death." So Shklov got up and he told the Olam, "We're all gonna die. So we have to do tshuva shlema. Really, the best tshuva is you do vidu berabim, and you experience the bezyonis of having done the avayda, and that will clean out your neshama." Now, of course, we normally don't do it because you don't want to give anybody ideas. It's a chil Hashem to publicly say your advice. But here, anyway, we're all dying, so we should do it. So we're going to start from the youngest. So a little kid gets up, the youngest child there, an 11-year-old child, and he's heaving with crying. He can't even get the words out. And he said, "I said a lie to my mother." So they look at him and say, "So what was the lie?" He said, "The lie was we didn't have enough food. So my mother would not give food to my younger brother. He gave food to me. She gave food to me because I was in Cheder. And I was learning, so she wanted me to have food. And I lied to her, and I told her that they give us food in Cheder." And he was crying and crying that he did this terrible avayda. So Rabbi Shmuel Shklov got to the Rebbeinu Shalom. We say in Slichus, "Penei na ela talois v'lo ela chatois." Look at our challenges and our tsudas, and don't look ala chatois, and don't look at our avaydas. I was just look pick the carrot. Penei ela chatois. Kick off into the avaydas. Do this in the avaydas in Klal Yisrael. In the day line, that's the rat in Klal Yisrael. And listen, we know they made it there to Yisrael. They're there. So I look at Shmuel. I say, "Shmuel, I would trade away my Torah for your excuses why you couldn't come." So the Rebbe should bench you and your family. You should always have simcha and nachas. And the bracha that since we're part of your group, we get to schnorr along with your brachas. It should overflow on all of us. Panusa b'rava, nechumas adas, and Torah, and get the shadichim schnell, and simcha and bracha in alles. And there should be so much hatzlucha and bracha in our olam that it should overflow us and go to everybody around us. Zok the heilige Gemara. So we were in the middle of discussing the halacha that Rav Huna said. The Mishnah told us that you have to accept, the Lakeach has to accept there'll be a roiva psoilas for every soul. What if you go over? What if you go over? How much has to be refunded? Rav Huna said once you go over, everything has to get refunded. You don't just bring it down below the threshold. And the Gemara was trying to bring rise to Rav Huna. The Gemara must love Rav Huna because the Gemara for a blat is looking to find rise. And we're going to have some more rise today. But we're not going to succeed with an ironclad airtight raya. But we'll try. Toshma. The Mishnah on Gimel, I think, is going to tell us what happens if you sell somebody a property and you tell them it's to the inch a base court. The halacha is it has to be to the inch. If it's a drop bigger, then you got to pay more. If it's a drop smaller, you got a refund. But what if a guy said, give or take a base court? So then the Mishnah says, then there's some leeway. Up to a roiva. I guess the amount of place where you clear out the roiva. I think it's a roiva kav, up the amount of we plant a roiva kav. What happens if you go over? So now we have a price that tells us what happens if it went over. The Tani Rabban by Rav Nachman, lo yasai Moshe b'lvad hu machzer. If the land is, let's say, more than the roiva bigger. You don't just give back the part that's more than the roiva bigger. As color and cool, everything goes back. So this is a right Ravuna. Al mahecha de boy adure. Once you're doing already a reconciliation, kula mahader. So it's a gabaltic right Ravuna. Zokmar, it's no right at all. Hachi ashta. Hasam hein chaser hein yasser. That's what he said. Give or take a little bit. Omer is what he said. Miu revia loy choshev. A revia is not a choshev, a piece of property that I would be makbid on. But yeser me revia choshev. It's a choshev of property. If it's a choshev of property, I want the whole thing back. But when it's just a question of how much shmutz is in there, no, a little bit of shmutz I still don't mind. The Tziyonim skip the next line. It says the kivan have a cheshuva b'afanav sheba'odah. Since it's double cheshuv by itself, it goes back. Tashma, let's try another raya. Ha'ina, we all know how ha'ina works. Pachos mishtos nikna mekach, as Rashbam says, because the person who is nisana is moichel. Yosy mishtos bottle mekach, and shtos if it's exactly a shtos kana umach soino, and you give back the complete overcharge. So once again, you have a raya. Amai lahader al pachos mishtos. Say if it's exactly a shtos, why do you have to give back the whole thing? Just give back a little bit of money so it brings it below the threshold. Or if it's Yosy mishtos, give a little bit more money until it goes below the threshold. But why do you have to give it all back? Just bring the ina to less than the shtos. Elamai shmamina kol heicha de boy ladure. Whenever you do a reconciliation, right?
Just that.
Oh no, machzor no means the whole ina.
The whole,
Yeah.
any kind of interest.
That's right. So zok to Gemara,
Whatever, the
overcharge.
The upcharge.
Zok to Hachi ashta.
Yeah.
Hachi ashta. Hasam meikar shavu b'shav. If I'm buying something and it's really worth $5, then that's all I want to pay for it. I want to pay exactly what it's worth, not a penny more. Omerle, that's what he said. Miu pachas mishtos lo yediyah. If it turns out that you ripped me off less than the sixth, it's not such a big deal, so I'll look away from it. Lo yediyah mibana, and therefore umochel inish. But shtos, if it's a complete shtos, yediyah, that's a significant amount, and people notice that. And that is veloy mochel inish. Yes, mishtos is a mekachtosu uvato mekach. Masha ein kain. When we're talking about the psoiles zakter rashbam, when I buy it lechatchila, I'm willing to accept shmutz. When I buy a regular item that I'm being assigned on, I want my fair price. I don't want to pay a penny over. But when I'm buying tvua, there I'm accepting a little bit. So therefore, by ino, you'll be machshir the whole ino, but it's not a raya that by the psoilus mixed into the wheat that you'd be able to give it all back. Gebaltik toshma. Let's try another raya off for size. Hamakabel sodim mechaver elita. People, you have a big landowner. He doesn't work in this field. What he does is he hires a contractor that's going to plant his field. This was going to be lita. He was going to be planting ilana, trees. And we know the density with which you planted trees is asar lebeisa. For every beisa, you could spread out 10 trees evenly. So that's how many trees it would be expected of this contractor to plant. Hareza makabo alav eser buriyos lemea. For every 100 trees that he plants, 10 of those trees might be duds. They might not produce pears. We wouldn't make the contractor have to go back and warranty those plants up to 10. But Yosy Mekan, if there's more than 10 plants out of 100 that are duds, once it comes back, it doesn't grow pears. So then you make them fix them all. So once again, you have a raya to Rafuna that once you do a reconciliation, you fix it completely. Omar Rafuna Reda Bishua, Kol Yaser Mikan, Kabbalita Mitchiladam. And I want to learn Toshus inside because he expresses it so beautifully. Zok Toshus Kol Yaser Mikan, Kabbalita Mitchiladam, Pirish. Bitchila Kishamas Chalita. When you plant trees, Eina Yochalita Oisa Shoyedea Bavade Shugarua. No one has a havmina to say that this contractor can bedafka plant an inferior tree. He has to plant a tree which he assumes will be good. When you're in the middle of planting, if you know that this tree is not good, it's not good. And even if while you're planting and you planted some of the trees, but you're still on the job, somehow you discover that one of the trees you planted is no good, you still got to rip it out and put another one in. It's called a DOA, right? If he's still on the job, while he's still on the job, if they find out that even one of those plants aren't good, avada chayiv lo shiroi v'mitachim b'mkoimoi, while he's on the job. Hilchach, k'sheyes yoser me'eser, ava b'shloi nodat zman orach. It might take a year or two till you find out if this tree is going to bear fruit or not. But then you're off the job already. If you're off the job already, then unless 10% are faulty, you don't have to come back in the warranty. Akati, even the lechol apachas, sarach lita yeser. Now there's 11 out of 100 that are bad. So he's got to come back on the job. Once he comes back on the job, he's on the job again. So we look at it like he didn't finish the job. He's back on the job. It's not considered that he's finished the job. And he still is considered in the job. If he's still in the job, then it goes back to the original default rule. For Pirish, we already said at the top of Tosfos, the Chosman Shehu b'Malacha, as long as he's still on the job. But of course, by accepting shmutz in the wheat, of course, it doesn't have any of this. So therefore, it's not a raya. Dead on arrival. Okay, Gewaltig. This is actually law, and I'm going to give you an example of where this is law. The law, I'm going to say it's even secular law. The rule is that if I'm unionized and I want to decertify, or if I'm not unionized and they want to certify me, they could only do it on a day that I'm working. So on the day that I'm working, they have to come and say, "Oh, you have Rav union members today, so it's card certification." But I could only undo it also on the day that they're working. In other words, let's say I want to uncertify, I can't get a vote when no one's working. That it has to be dafka on the job one day to decertify. That's how it works. So it's very hard. It's very hard to do that because the unions know where the guys are because the guys are reporting to them. So what's the Eitzah? A friend of mine did this Eitzah. What happened is he did a whole job, but he left out one screw. Well, like one screw, he put a screw in a grill somewhere. And he told Don Timachadova, I'm not going to finish it now. I'm going to finish it in a couple of months. So what happened? In a couple of months, he called in one of his guys on a Sunday to close it. The union didn't know about that because it's not a small zach. And that day, 100% of his workforce was non-union. So he was able to decertify on that day. The unions were angry. But you see, when you go back to the job, it's you're still on the job.
He found the one guy who did not yet.
Who was on this team? No, because what happened was what happened with the law is it was a family member. Right. It was a family member to the company who was an employee of the company.
And he was not in union.
He was union, but he was there that day, and they can make a vote on that day, and he gets the vote.
Did that work?
They got out. The unions were angry. Zok the Gemara weiter. Marta shoya. So now we finished the sugya. The Gemara tried over and over again. The Gemara, he probably ate gefilte fish. The Gemara tried over and over again, and the Gemara couldn't bring right Ravuna. So now we're starting a new sugya, a little bit complicated, and it's about wine. Okay, what did the Mishnah say? The Mishnah says if you buy a martav shoyayin, you have to accept that 10% of the barrels aren't going to be great. They're going to be shvacha barrels. Okay, we're going to see the definition of shvach. We're going to see that all today. What precisely was the transaction? Ida Omer Le, if the Moicha told Lekeach, I'm selling you martav shoyayin stam. Kosh, it's going to be shver. Why is it going to be shver? Because in a moment we're going to quote a brisa that says if you sell a martav shoyayin stam, you must give every single bottle has to be perfect. So that doesn't fit with our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says 10% could be bad. And Ida Omer Le martav ze shoyayin. So I'm saying this one for better or for worse, it's also shver because the brisa is going to say then you can give them the whole thing bad. So where do you have a case where you could only give 10% bad? All the barrels could be shvacha wine. Yeah, all the barrels could be shvacha wine. No, 100% could be shvacha wine. Could be wine that's already starting to go bad. So Zok Gemara, eat right. He says that for better for worse, whatever it is. That's right. So Zok Gemara. Now the Gemara is going to get into the details. Ida Amar Le Martav Zeh. If he said Martav Zeh, then Kasha, it'll be shver. The Tanya we learned to Brisa. Martav shal yayin ani morchalach, noisin lo yayin shekula yof. So that's really explains the first kasha that the Gemara asked. If it's speaking, we said plain Martav shal yayin, it's noisin lo yayin shekula yof. You don't get to give him 10% of bad barrels. And if you said Martiv Zeh Shal Yain Ani Moichelach, Nois Min Yain Nimka B'Chanus, you can give him all wine sold in the store, which is wine that's right before its best before date, which is the Shvacha wine that we're talking about, the Koises it's called. So where are you going to have a case where it's only 10%? Martiv Zeh Ani Moichelach. If you said Martiv Zeh and you didn't even say Yain, you said Martiv Zeh, that means whatever's in there doesn't necessarily even wine. Even if it's all acid, it's all vinegar, it's still good. He never said Yain. He said Martiv, whatever's in the Martiv. So, in what case does our Mishnah say that there's a 10% that of content that's bad? And I want to be clear. It doesn't mean you can purposely put in bad wine. You're giving them a whole Martiv of wine, and it's expected that some of them won't be good.
You put 10% bad in the keeping.
No, you can't. You're not allowed to put anything. If it wasn't properly cleaned out, you're not allowed to add in. Remember the Gemara said, if you go to your friend's tefillin and take it out, you're mazikim, because you can't put it back in.
And if you stole his rocks, you have to pay him the value of the keeping.
That's right.
You can use it to fill up the.
No, he could have used it. He can't put it back now.
Yeah, but
There's some masters no, to just put it back. What's the big deal? No, I'll put it
the
back.
only way, no, if I remember correctly, the only way that you can stop him from doing it is if you went over. That's the whole Rav Huna. Otherwise,
No, you're never allowed to mix in. That's clear on Rav Huna just said that if on the tzad of knas, Rav Huna said if there's more, could be he mixed it in. I'll show you the Rishbam. So let's go to the Rishbam. Go to the Rishbam on the daf. So let's go to the Rishbam. Let's go to the Rishbam on daf tzadik dalar and one blot back. Noishin lo demechit the top Rishbam. If chisoy b'mida, the you have a masbin like imachit. I would have told her with the chitin daf rush mekabelake. Aval lachsa ula arab eino yochel. The hash the oisa avlo b'yadayim uchsiv lo isasu over. V'gam lokech leimochel el mashin.
that makes a lot of sense.
Look at the restaurant. V'gam lokech leimochel el mashin is arv me'atzmei imatvua bal korchach shomoy.
Then why does the guy have to pay for those rocks?
Which rocks?
The rocks that he stole.
Because had you not taken them out, then I would have been able to sell that as wheat because it was mixed in. Now that you took it up, I have to fill it up with wheat.
Because I tried to sell it with wheat.
But you're allowed to sell it if you didn't mix it in.
No, but that brisa was not, I took the rocks out of the wheat barrel, I just took rocks.
No, of
Do I
course not.
remember that? I missed
No.
I didn't understand it.
No. Boirer tzor migorno. You were mevarer a rock from the
you-
garden.
You sifted it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think you're doing me a taiva? I sifted you towards Michigan and you messed me up. Okay, gewaltig. So zog the Gemara weiter. So the Gemara wants to know exactly in what case is our mission talking about. It can't be my martyr zeh, because then you can give it all back, and it can't be my martyr stam, because then you have to give it all good. So zog the Gemara, I'll tell you pshat. The Tanya we learned, martyr shayayin ani moichelach. So there's three cases. Let's focus. Martyr shayayin ani moichelach. Our Mishnah doesn't say that, so that can't be the case of our Mishnah. Martiv zeh shel yain ani moichelach. You can give it all koisesais. And if you said martiv zeh plain ani moichelach and you didn't even say wine, afilu kula chayim etzigiyah. Zokt gemar la'olam. Let's say the omer lei martiv shel yain stam. It's martiv shel yain stam. You're going to have a kasha because our brisa beferish by martiv shel yain stam says you have to give yain shekula yofa. We'll have to amend the brisa. But Tani Bereisha the brisa, after it says Noitzin Layayin Shekula Yofa, we have to add the words Umekabel Alav Esther Koises Oislemeya, which is a big doichik because it's literally making a chasura machzura. Right? But the Gemara doesn't like this pshat anyway. Ubistam mi mekabel. Are you telling me that by stam the lokech slas to accept some bad wine? Right? That's what you want to say now. It can't be. Well, Tani we learned, Rav Chia taught us, and a rice from Rav Chia is rock solid. If you sell a chavis of wine to your friend, it has to be 100% good. You can't accept a little bit bad, even though it's tam. Zok to Gemara. I'm sorry?
How is one kovis could you?
No, you don't mix it. It could be starting to go bad. Zok to Gemara, shiny chavis. To kula chad chamerhu. Buy a chavis on makbid. In a barrel, I want everything to be equal. I don't want half and half. Mamaila, if I'm taking a whole bunch of barrels in the martyr,
What's the difference between the Piyas and the Mishnah itself? The Mishnah says, "Martyr shal yayin mekabel lo eser koises."
Right, but he says if you sell a barrel, it has to be pure. You don't say 10% of the barrel could be going bad.
But how could that be? You get from the same barrel.
We're actually going to learn very soon that that's exactly the way it is. When the wine starts spoiling, it doesn't spoil the whole thing together. It starts at the top, it goes to the bottom. And there's a shot of the more. If it starts from the top and spreads to the bottom, it starts to the bottom, and spreads to the top. But yeah, it's not the whole barrel. We're going to see that soon. So the question is,
So fast.
so Zok the Gemara, we're stuck again because of Moicher Stam, you don't give 10%. Zok the Gemara, that's not a kasha because Shani Chavos the Kula Chad Chamer. By a Chavos it would be different. We're talking about a market. The Rashbam speaks out. What happens? It would pick the case Chavos. Why didn't it say the case by a market? In the Havin, the Gemara asked the kasha. The Gemara thought it was the same halacha. So why did it talk about a Chavos and not a market? Zok the Rashbam because the Chiddush in Chavos. You might think if I'm selling you a Chavos, the guy's ready to drink it. If you're ready to drink it, it could be Shvacher wine because you don't need a long shelf life if you're ready to drink it. But a market, clearly I'm having it to store. So that's what the Chiddush by Chavos.
You buy wholesale versus retail.
Yeah. Frank the Gemara, but I'll still bring you a rye that you learned wrong Pshat in the Mishnah. And I'll bring you a rye that if you're Moicher, a market for Yain Stam, it has to be 100% good. Because the Brisa here says black and white Pshat in the Mishnah. But Tanya Rabbi Zvid b'dvei Rabbi Yishia. Martiv shal yain ani moichelach, noisin lo yain shekuloi yofe. Now you could make the chesur mechsur over there, but look at the next line. Martiv zeh shal yain ani moichelach, noisin lo yain shekuloi yofe, umekabel alav eser koshes hashlemeya, which is a stira to the Brisa that we mentioned the drop earlier. But this Brisa clearly says it. We're going to have to answer the stira and Brises soon. But the Val, it says befeiros, but it says even more. Look at the next line of the Brisa on the base. That's exactly the Mishnah. So you can't argue with that. The Brisa is saying Shvartzavais. The case of the Mishnah is when you said Martav Shal Yayin Zeh, and by Martav Shal Yayin Zeh, you can't give everything bad. You can only give 10% back. So now we have Pshat. So let's just do an inventory. If you said Yayin Martav Shal Yayin Zeh, right now we have to work out why there's a steer in Brises, but our Mishnah holds, and the latest price that we quoted holds that you have to give good wine, 10% could be bad. What if you said Martav Yain Stam? Right now, we're learning that you have to give 100% good, right? Okay. Correct, more of a cautious house. Now you have Shver, the case of Zeh in our Brisa and our Mishnah, compared to the Zeh in the first Brisa that says by Zeh you can give it all back. Zok Gemara loy kasha. Not mikveh. I'm not pouring the wine in the mikveh. I'm using it to cook. And the Rishbam mikpah. When you cook, when you drink wine, it doesn't matter. You don't care if the wine's going to go bad tomorrow because right now it's good. But I don't give the best before that is tomorrow. Right? I can drink it. But if I'm using it to cook, generally you'll have a bottle and you use a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow. Generally, you're going to keep it in your shelf where you keep your spices. So that you need something that's going to be very long lasting.
It's cooking.
But the main point is that you're going to use it ma'at. You're not going to use it up at one time. So our Mishnah and the Brisa of Rabbi Zvid that says that if you said zeh, you still have to give 90% good wine. That's when the moicher spoke out. You could use it to cook. I mean, the moicher is saying. You have a long best before that. You have a long time till it spoils. When the first Brisa said that if you said Martav Shal Yain Zeh, you can give him all wine that's at the end of its shelf life. Where the Moicher didn't say, I'm selling it to you for cooking. I'm plain selling it to you, so he could say, I sold it to you to drink. Drink, you could drink it right now. About it. So dear Abzvid, the Brisa of Reb Zvid that we just quoted, the Omer Leila Mikveh. It's speaking where he said the mikveh, and therefore 90% has to be good wine. The Brisa that says all of it can be bad wine, the Amr Leila mikveh. Hilcha. So now the Gemara does an inventory of Allah Chalamaysa. Martav Shal Yayin. If he said Martav Shal Yayin, the Amr Leila mikveh, noisin lo yayin shekul yaf. He's got to give pure good wine. Now this is a chiddush because we were discussing Martav Shal Yayin Zeh. We thought regardless it has to be good wine, even if you don't say the mikveh. So the Gemara in a moment is going to clear that shiloh. But I guess the Gemara here holds like one side of that shiloh. But that, of course, is not so poshut. The hechad is that speaking of mikveh. right? Maybe stamazoi. If you said martav shoyayin, it has to be good wine. But martav zeh shoyayin, if it's amalei mikveh, the amalei mikveh, the notional yayin shekula yafa, but the makabel alav eser kesas eslamea, which is how we want to try in our Mishnah, which is the price of Rabbi Zvi. If you said martav zeh shoyayin v'lo amalei mikveh, which is what the first price said, the notional yayin and nimke bechanus, you can give him all the wine that you give him could be right before it's best before day.
And that was not Yain and Bechanish.
That's what the idea of a chusma. It means look, it means wine that's about to go bad. Eat more iboilu. So the Gemara wants to clear a shiloh now.
I mean, in Koisus
Koisus is the same thing. Koisus is the same thing as wine adim kabechanos. Iboilu. Martiv shel yayin v'loy amar leila mikveh. Which the Gemara said a moment ago, if you didn't say the mikveh, you don't have to give him good. But we're clearing what would the halacha be? And let's just analyze what the shiloh is. V'loy amar leila mikveh. So now let's look at this shiloh. You said martiv shel yayin, you didn't say zeh. Whenever you say martiv shel yayin and you don't say zeh, it's mashma, not for better or for worse. It's all good. So that's one side pointing that you have to give them all good. But you didn't say mikveh, so that's one strike against you. On the other hand, so there's one strike for you, one strike against you. So maybe, so what does that mean? There's that, in the case if you said martav shoyayin zeh, and you didn't say the mikveh, for sure you can give them all bad, because I said for better for worse, and I didn't change anything. If I said the mikveh overrules everything. The mikveh makes everything good. But if I said martav shoyayin and I didn't say mikveh, maybe that in and of itself is enough to say that it has to be all good, or maybe you also need the mikveh. So Zogmar pliki bar of Achav Ravina. In fact, it's coming machlokes between Rav Acha and Ravina. Chadam and Makabel, Chadam and Loy Makabel. Now let's review what we said just a moment ago. The brisa, the first brisa that says you can give it all bad, was speaking where it was not the mikveh, right? That's what the Gemara answered. But the Gemara is going to say now, if that part of the brisa where you didn't say mikveh, then Pasha the whole brisa you didn't say mikveh. The brisa that we quoted from Messiah is speaking where you did say the mikveh, right? That's why Zeh, you have to give him 90% good, right? But all of our brisa would be mikveh, right? Either all yes or all no, right? So Zok to Gemara, Man Davar Mekabel will be Medaik from our Bezvid's brisa. The Katoni, what did the Bezvid's brisa say? Martiv shal yain ani moichalach. That was the first case. Nois no yain shekul. And we said the brisa is speaking to Amalei Mikveh. We'll kim to Amalei Mikveh because of the Zeh, because of the next case. But once we still around that way, Pashas, the whole brisa is speaking in the same case. So then I can make a dik. Time to Amalei Mikveh. Haloi Amalei Mikveh Mikabel. So therefore, this sheet would hold. How would this sheet would look at Rebbe's brisa? Say, listen, it seems very stark that if you didn't say the Mikveh, it's Mikabel. We're going to have to find a way for the other mandamar to diffuse this, right? You can't ignore this brisa. Umandam Aloy Mekabel will be medaik from the brisa, the first brisa, which we said is speaking where you didn't say lemikveh. The katani martav shoyayin ani moichalach noisel yain shekul yafa, and that brisa will be committed the loyam lemikveh. That's why by zeh you can give them all bad. So now the Gemara wants to know, okay, one mandam has brisa A and one mandam has brisa B, but the mandam who's brisa B has to have for brisa A, and the mandam who's brisa A has to have for brisa B. Uleman the daik mit Rabbi Zvid. If you're medaik from Rabbi Zvid, that if you didn't say the mikveh, you can give bad stuff. Kasha brisa, it's going to be straight the brisa that's speaking where you didn't say the mikveh, and it still says noish no yain shekul yafa. So tomorrow he'll be forced to say chisur mechzur v'achikatani. Tamed devar mamurim the amalei the mikveh. So the first case is if you say ma'akav shirani in moichalach noish no yain shekul yafa. Tamed devar mamurim if he said the mikveh. Haloi amalei the mikveh. If he didn't say the mikveh, then the kabel, right? But one second, I got a problem because I'm not plugged in. If I'm not plugged in, we are going to need everything. Let me plug quickly. We got plugged.
I see you, Yosy. I hear you. Now I don't hear you. I don't hear you, Yossi.
Somebody else will tell us.
Okay. I don't hear you, Yossi.
Is your volume on?
Yes.
No, for him to hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, now I hear you.
You know why it locked me out? Because I had to be masking to be live streamed before they let me talk. Okay, so Zok the Gemara, you'll have a chasur mechsur v'achiyatani. When do you say that if you say martiv ani noisin law ani moichalach, that's only if you said lemikveh. Haloim lemikveh, then mekabel, you have to be mekabel 10% bad. And in the next case, martiv zeh shol yain, if you didn't say lemikveh, lemikveh noisin layain and minka b'chanus. So that's the other one. Ulaman the daik mi brisa. But the one who was medak for the brisa and didn't make a chasur mechsura, he said that even if he didn't say lemikveh, the brisa says that if you say martiv shal yain ani moichalach, it has to be all good wine, even though you didn't say mikveh. It's going to be kasher Reb Zvid. It'll be shver and Reb Zvid. Do kimno do amal the mikveh. Reb Zvid's brisa, we said this thing we say the mikveh. Haloi amal the mikveh. If you didn't say the mikveh, mikabel, even in the case of stam martiv ani moichalach. No, who adin the avagav the loy amal the mikveh loy mikabel. No, whether you said mikveh or not, in the ratio of the brisa, you don't have to accept any bad ones. The only reason why we stole the rain by mikveh is not to be medayik haloi amal mikveh. We only did it because of the seifa, which is the cause of zazah. But avada side mikveh side non mikveh in the ratio would avada accept 10%. So just to do an inventory, if you said martiv shal yain ani moichalach by itself, it's a machloikis between Reb Zvid, Reb Acha and Ravina, which is the machloikis we just discussed. If you said martiv shal yain ani moichalach lemikveh, everybody agrees it has to be 100% pure. If you said martiv zeh shal yain, martiv zeh shal yain shani moichalach, then if you said lemikveh, 90% has to be good. If you didn't say lemikveh, then 100% could be bad, right? And if you
bad.
I'm sorry,
Bad.
bad, but it can't be chometz. Can't be chometz.
It's
If you said martiv ani moichalach without even saying the word yain, then it could even be chometz. Okay, Zok Gemara weiter. Omer Yehuda. So now that we're talking about this wine that's half good, half bad. One that's half good, half bad. Machtav tem magofen or shakel? Is it wine or not? So Omer Yehuda, yain and nimka bechanus, mevarchen the love boyer priyagofen. That's what Reb Yehuda holds. Reb Chisda, what are you talking about? Gabechamer the akrim, bad wine, the Lomali. Why would you make a boyer priyagofen? You should make a shahakla. So someone said, what do you mean you don't make a bracha on vinegar because it's not normal to drink it? The shpam is a bit fairish, shahakla. The vast are some vinegars that people do drink.
Again, he's selling it as wine.
No, you don't know.
No. This is not a question of Mekach Memkar. Yain and Nimka Bechanus means shvacha wine.
Right.
So
So
shvacha wine, what bracha do you make on shvacha wine?
if we call it shvacha wine, then it's wine.
That
If we
no.
call it vinegar,
Reb Chis halt nicht so.
That's what you know.
Yeah. Reb Chis halt nicht so.
alles, because in 4 Wochen später, what if I bought it today, I bought it Friday for Shabbos,
If it's schwache wine, meaning if it's half, we're gonna see the definition of that means that it tastes like wine, but it smells like acid. That's the definition of this type of wine. So that's about like, so go to Meisfei. Alapasha, what about rotten bread? The layayin shehikrim, that's our shaila. Val tavshil shavet tzavosai, a mazoinis that lost its surah, it's spoiled. Ayim shakal nivid varay. So it's a kasha on Rabbi Yehuda. Dr. No, Amar Rabbi Zvid, Moed Rabbi Yehuda, v'purtzime. This is not stam bad wine. This is much worse. We're talking about really bad wine. The mizdavna karnosa. You know what that means? When you go and see a shikar on the street, if you sell them rubbing alcohol, buy it. If you sell them glue, it'll smell it. So we're talking about this price that it says it's charcoal, meaning it's so bad that only a shikar on the gas is going to buy it. But something that you're going to buy and use for Shabbos, about you make a very pickle. So I shared a story with a guy who once went to the store to buy chicken. And just like me, I walk into Eaton's one day, and the salesman, I wanted to go to buy shoes. The salesman walks over to me and says, let me show you, that's right, this is how it was. Let me show you some of our latest shoes at the new arrivals rack. So I told him, really, when I come, I'm looking for the departures rack, right? The villager, that's on sale. I'm looking for the clearance section. But I'll call upon him. This guy also went to the clearance section by the chickens, and he bought the chicken that's come the best before day. So he brings it home, his wife opens it up and says, Yankel, I am not cooking this chicken. It's abespectness to get. I'm not. It was perfectly good chicken. I bought it. No, I'm not cooking it. So I'm throwing it in the garbage. Throw it in the garbage. Chas v'shulam. You don't appreciate good food. Our neighbor is poor. He'd love to have his alacha chicken. I'm going to take it over to him. She says, okay, do whatever you want. So he packs up this chicken, knocks on the door. The answer, he says, maybe you want some chicken. I have extra chicken. Wow, that's so nice of you. We're so excited. We haven't that chicken in months. They take the chicken, they cook it. He's smiling, klaptach and bakali. He's so excited with himself. Sure. The next day, nobody comes out of the apartment. He knocks on the door, and they're throwing up their sick in bed. So he went in, he sat down with them. He was with a chayla. He asked him, "Can I get you something? You're sick. Can I buy you some milk? You need anything?" Showing. A couple of days later, go by. They rush to the hospital, and he hears that they died. Showing. So he goes right away to the levaya, and then after levaya, he comes and he goes. He comes home all zufrieden, and his wife says, "Look what you did to them." He says, "Look what I did to them. You were going to throw out the chicken. I got 4 mitzvahs out of it. I got gemilas chesudim. I got bika cholim. I got a voice and I got the nichem avayim, and you were going to throw it out." That's the gate as a maser. Amalei Abaye. So Abaye told Rabbi Yosy, "Har Rabbi Yehuda, har Rabbi Chisda." We have Rabbi Yehuda who says you make a boyer priya kofim, and you have Rabbi Chisda who says you make a shahakal. Mar kaman severely. Who do you pass on? These omens achfidim. Amalei masnisi yodana. Zok Rabbi Yosy, there's a brisa. Now the brisa is also not going to be so clear, but we're going to see the maskana what it means. So there's a brisa that'll tell you if you make a bracha shahakol or if you should make a bracha boyer priya. The Tanya we learned. I sell wine. I have many barrels I sell for wine. Of course, the wine that I sell, I want it to be musakan. I want to separate trumas and maishus. So what did I do? I don't want to take from every barrel. I set aside one barrel that I seal, because once everything's patched, it's going to go bad. So I left it sealed. I check it out to make sure it's good wine. And then every time I sold something, I said the maser and truma for this should be over there. Right? So I buy this liyos mafresh aleh truma bahim. And then what happens? 2 weeks later, he opens up the barrel. The achach nimmt es chaymitz, and it was chaymitz. So what's the Latinius? Is the stuff that he sold good, or does he have to call all the customers back and tell them we got to be mafresh again? So kol gimel yoim vaday. For 3 days, it's sure. Become velachsof. But after that, it's off. Break my comer. Which 3 days are we talking about? What 3 days? I'll tell you pshat. Kol gimel yoim amar yishonim vaday. If when he checked that it was good, for sure, for 3 days, it would have been good. So anything that he was mafresh for trumas the first 3 days after he checked it, those are 100% good. The kan ve'elach, anything after those 3 days up until today is a suffer. My time, and what's this one? Chamor me'loi akar. When wine starts to go bad, it always starts from the top. V'hai te'ime, he tasted from the top. When you open it up, you taste from the top. V'loi akar was still good, which means the barrel is 100% good while he tasted it. Imtim shalomer basa te'ime akar. If you're going to say that immediately after he tasted it and he closed the barrel, it started to go bad, so then it would have taken 3 days to spread through the whole barrel. Have a reicha chala, it smells like vinegar. The time chamer, but it tastes like wine. And I hold zokt Rabbi Yochanan And therefore you make a boyer priagofen. So this is Rabbi Yochanan, the way you understood it. You have Rabbi Yosef saying, the Brisa seems to say that you make a boyer priagofen. However, Rabbi Shuban Levi has a different take on it. He said, Kol Gimel Yom Ma'achroinim V'adei Chaymetz. The last 3 days, you know for sure it's Chaymetz. And we can't allow anything before that as a suffix because it could have been rotten the moment you check it. What's Pshat? My timer, because Chamer mit Esoyakar. It's possible that it was already bad, but it didn't reach the top. So you didn't notice, but it could have been bad. And even if I agree to you, even if it became bad from the top, it doesn't matter. Because Dilma bought the Tima Akar right away. And I agree with you in the Metzias, Rabbi Yochanan, have a Rechaya Chala of a time of Chamra, but I hold when I hold when it's like that, have a Rechaya Chala of a time of Chamra, and I hold Rechaya Chala of a time of Chamra is Chala. I hold that it's ethnic and you make a shakla. So now we don't really know. Rabbi Yosef said them to a brisa, but we don't know who did he mean, right? Rabbi Yosef didn't say anything about it. This is the Gemara trying to figure it out. The southern people actually quoted Rabbi Shuban Levi as saying something else. Mas Mishmei Rabbi Shuban Levi, Rishonim Vadai Yayin, Achroinim Vadai Chometz, and Tzoyim Sofer. This is a stira. You can't have it both ways. Amrit Rishonim Vadai Yayin, which means Alma Rechaya Chalo, the time of Chamra is going to be Chamra. The Hoda Amrit Achroinim Vadai Chometz, so Vice the Chayz Alma Rechaya Chalo, the time of Chamra is Chalo. So what is it? Zok the Gemara. Case is when you founded Chometz, it wasn't just regular Chometz. It was strong Chometz. Very strong Chometz. The Ilav, the Akar, Tlosa Yomi, if it wasn't already all Chometz for 3 days already, Loy have a Mishtaka Chala Siptaka. It wouldn't be so strong as it. So that's why the last 3 days, you know for sure, even though Rechaya, Chala, the time of Chamar is wine, but when it's so bad, that's for sure, you know, for 3 days it was for sure bad. So come on, Pashatli. So Lamaisa, what did Rabbi Yosef mean? Did he mean Rabbi Yochanan, or did he mean Rabbi Shuban Levi? But the Rashbam speaks out that we paskin like Rabbi Yochanan because even Rabbi Shuban Levi, according to the Durimoy, are moide, that is considered chamer. Therefore, it's mistaber that Rabbi Yochanan paskin that Rabbi Yosef is talking like Rabbi Yochanan, and you make a boyeri free hagafen. Okay, we'll stop here, Beshem, and we will be mamshech. Beshem, tomorrow we'll learn at 7 o'clock. Should we learn a little later than 7 because it's a very short omid? No, we'll learn at 7 anyway.
Well, I mean, what's the plan?
We're going to learn every day Rosh Hashanah.
And Shabbos.
So tomorrow we'll. You know what? Maybe we'll learn tomorrow at 7:15
What do we do Shabbos?
because we're up late. Let's learn tomorrow at 7:15. So we'll learn tomorrow at 7:15. I'm going to send that on WhatsApp.
Rosh Hashanah is fine. What are we doing Shabbos?